In this video, I will reveal to you the top websites to find and book your cruise shore excursions. If you are anything like me, the moment you book your cruise, you immediately want to make sure you pack your days at port with shore excursions or with whatever is best to do at the port. You know, from swimming with stingrays in the Cayman Islands or eating a pastel nata in Lisbon or marveling at the Acropolis in Athens, or going to industry wine tasting in southern France. Every destination has those must-do experience that you just do it. And let's be honest, short excursions are hands down one of the best things that we can do while cruising. But with so many options, how do we choose? And more importantly, how do we find the best deals and the most authentic experiences? This video is your ultimate guide to finding and booking your incredible shore excursions. I'm not going to waste your time and show immediately what are these 5 websites. You can go and jump straight onto them, but do put a like on the video. And anyway, I will be breaking them into 3 key moments of the cruise experience: before, during, and after. Well, actually, there are 6 sites because the 6 depends on the cruise you just booked. It is the cruise line's site. Now, before we deep dive, I've got here a quick visual on the websites. You can jump straight to the timestamps of any one of these that you don't know about. Normally, I would start with the before moment of your cruise, but the important and juicy part is really during the cruise. But I'll come back to the before so that you can enjoy your embarkation port to the fullest as you booked the flight a couple of days before. At least I hope you did. Okay, now it gets exciting. We've got our port, and let's now select what are we going to do in port. Well, the very first thing I recommend, even before looking at the cruise company's website or whatever on the port for the short excursions, is let's check what's in port. And what better to do it? The site is called literally What's in Port. Okay, so I open here the site. It's very simple. It's got no big deal. It's supposed to be a really simple site. I click Greece, cruise ports in Greece. Let's check the one we want is Volos. For our cruise, yeah, it is Volos, and yeah, we have. And you'll see with this particular case why it is so important to actually do this search. So we look at it, and immediately the first thing it says is the port is an industrial area close to town, but too far to walk. Okay, so that gives us the message. Okay, the cruise has organized shuttles, €7. So we already know it takes us €7 every 45 minutes. Which is super important because if we need to prepare for a shore excursion that is not an official shore excursion from the cruise line, probably we will need to get one of these shuttles to get there. And that immediately puts us having to wait at minimum 45 minutes. We've got also taxis, information, yeah, sightseeing, blah, 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 get all the information. It's got a Volos archaeological museum. Okay, nice. And then nearby places, Meteora Monastery. Okay, it really gives us a hint that there is not much to do in Volos besides probably getting into one of these shore excursions. And Meteora Monastery might be just the one. Okay, so let's check now the different sites on how do we get a shore excursion to Meteora Monastery. So why WhatsInPort, and what are the pros and cons of using WhatsInPort? Well, the pros basically is you get a lot of detailed port information with port maps, points of interest, transportation options, taxis, shuttles, all the work. It's a free resource. You don't have to pay anything, and empowers you a lot of do it yourself. Which a lot of us, the most experienced cruisers, really love.
And the cons of this free information paradise? No booking. You can read all you want, but you can't actually book anything here. It's like a delicious menu with no kitchen. How frustratingly informative. Requires more planning. You actually have to do some work yourself? Research Arrange transportation? Ugh, the sheer effort. Why can't everything just be spoon-fed?
As I mentioned, I'm going to use this next cruise that I've got booked because it's the one that I've got access to the company's website to check the shore excursions, uh, just to get a reference for how it looks like. Unfortunately, Explorer Journeys is not the best reference for this, and I'll tell you why. See there? We have here the cruise itinerary I've booked. This is the information I get from the website. And if we see contact call center for experiences to get there. Okay, so let me just bring up the itinerary. This is the itinerary which goes to Volos. Fortunately, we saw what we have at Volos to do. We know we need to do probably is the Meteora monastery is the only thing we get there. So if we do the search, I've got here 4 options. This is another one for Explorer. You can't see the shore excursions on your website, on the web. So you can't see your shore excursions on the web. You have to check them on the mobile phone, and then you can't book it. You have to call them. So we've got here 4. And let's zoom in, just have a quick look at the 4. We've got the hanging monasteries of Meteora, which is 9 hours, cooking 4 hours, truffle hunting in Meteora once more, 9 hours, and just the archaeology village nearby, 4 hours. Now, if we look at the booking, we've only got like 12 hours at this port. So it's from 9 to 9, which means you take out 2 hours, the 1 hour in the beginning, because you have to get off the ship, go and fetch excursion or whatever. And then you should be at minimum 1 hour before whatever you have. If you look then, you take those 2 hours, you immediately reduce the 12 hours to 10 hours. This short excursion is 9 hours, so it's just in time. This is why I would never recommend, in this particular case, for this particular short excursion, to book it without having the cruise line involvement. If you do it outside, 9 hours for a 10 hours time window, realistic, might get you in trouble. Okay, so that is one recommendation. Anyway, let's check the same excursion costs on other sites. But another thing that we can do is rent a car. So let's check here Google Maps. And if you check Google Maps, what we will notice is it takes roughly 2 hours to get there and back, another 2 hours. So that's 4 hours. So out of these 9 hour windows, we've already got like 4 hours, which is just in a bus or in a car for that matter. Maybe if it's in the car, you do it slightly faster, but these streets are a bit narrow, so don't count too much with it, which means you don't have a lot of buffer. This is one of those situations that I would consider very carefully, even if I would do with a rented car. Of course, you can skip lunch or whatever you want there to make it more efficient. Okay, let's be honest about it. Okay, so what are the pros of booking with a cruise line short excursions? Well, you've got the back to the ship guarantee, which is the big one. If a cruise line excursion is delayed, the ship will wait for you. This gives you an enormous peace of mind. Convenience, because it's easy to book with pre-arranged transportation. You get priority when you disembark at the port. So if you are using any other private tour, you have to disembark at the slotted that they have for the generic passengers, which usually is after the shore excursions. And then you have to find wherever your tour operator is located at. They use vetted operators, so they did the selection of what are the operators that they believe safely can manage you and with reliability. And it's suitable for first timers. If this is the first time you are using a cruise line, do it with them. It's much safer. You don't have to try to figure out what you have to do at all the moment.
And the cons? Oh, darling, where do I begin? Because who doesn't love paying a premium for the exact same tour you could get for less elsewhere? It's just good business, right? Large group sizes. Enjoy shuffling along with a flock of 50 plus of your closest brand new friends. Personal space is so overrated. Less flexible itineraries? Want to linger a bit longer at that charming cafe? The bus waits for no one. Stick to the schedule, sheeple. Tourist traps. Prepare for the most authentic experience. Of every other tourist taking the exact same selfie at the most predictable spots. Riveting.
Shore Excursions Group is one of the sites I strongly recommend to use to book short excursions. Why? It makes life so much easier. As you can see, we can select here immediately the cruise line. But before even I go there, have a check here with the guaranteed return to the ship. If we click here to try to understand what does the guaranteed return to the ship, look what they say here. Guaranteed return to the ship. In the extremely unlikely event that you miss your ship due to a late arrival of one of our tours, we will arrange and pay for your accommodation, meals, and transportations to the next port of call, and we will pay you an additional $1,000 per customer for the inconvenience. So this is really a nice point of them and puts pressure so that whatever tour operators they have, that will actually get you there on time. Now let's check here for Explorer journeys. My ship is the Explorer 1 and the sail date will be the August 16, 7 nights. So if we check, it immediately presents the screen in this aspect that we can see here. We've got all the different dates. Mykonos and Patmos, they don't have any options, but here Volos they have. So we check here the excursions and you see what comes. So they have here like a wine tasting, which is not the one that we were looking for. And they have here the private journey from Volos to Meteora monasteries with lunch at 150 per person. If we look at the price we got from the Explorer, it makes sense that we use this one. It's slightly cheaper, but actually we can see it's not way cheaper as opposed to B. But let's have a look at the detail. If you look at the, whoops, okay, weird stuff happened here. If we look here now, we see that from $150 per person, and it could go up to $2,485. What does this mean? Is basically doesn't matter how many people book the short excursion, you will split the cost, which would be roughly $2,485 across all the people. And this gives you a feeling for how many people could join it. So you risk, if you are the only one getting the booking, you will pay the 2,485, which probably doesn't make too much sense. Okay. And that's it. Anyway, what does it include? So it will tell you that the shore excursion is private, of course. They will pick you up from the cruise ship here. That is good. And recommend rest that you go comfortable. As usually, all these shore excursions, you always recommend that. Another great site to look for the shore excursions is Venture Ashore. And let's check with it. They also say, yeah, back to the ship guarantee. So let's have a quick look at what it is. We've got to go here to the frequently asked questions and guarantees and cancellation. Is there a risk that I will miss? And they say, no, we guarantee to get our customers back in time of your cruise ship's departure. Okay. They are all aware. Just in any case, if they say, yeah, if for reasons beyond our control, we will transport you to the next port of call at no extra cost to you. If for reasons beyond our control, we will transport you to your next port of call at no extra cost to you. So this is what they have, slightly different to the one from shoreexcursionsgroup.com. Okay, back now. Select the cruise line. We already know it's Explorer. So let's put here Explorer. We should know this by now. Departure date, August 16, 7 nights. There it is, search cruise. And yeah, we get it. And if you look, it organizes more or less the same day. It knows the itinerary. It places here all of them. We've got here Volos. So let's select Volos. And they say, yeah, well, this one is sold out. But we can still do a private tour to the Meteora monasteries, and they say 210 per person. If you look at the full details, basically you select the number of passengers, and as you can see, depending on the number of passengers, the price starts going down. It's basically going to split the cost among the different passengers. We already noticed this one has slightly less passengers than the Shore Excursions Group.com. So if you were 3, for example, This will be what we would get. Confirm that it's US dollars. I don't know, whatever they have. They select here once more, and we go and get view card, and there you have 1,397. So that it is what we get. Regarding the independent shore excursion websites, let's see what are the pros and cons. So for the pros, and this is both for shore excursions and venture ashore, it's basically the same. The back to the ship guarantees, well, I've showed to you at a different moment in times what it was. Smaller group sizes, competitive pricing. They try to always outbid the tour operators that go through the cruise line. They give you some unique options, and they focus on the cruise passengers, which is quite good.
But the cons? Oh, the thrilling uncertainty. Still a third party broker? Yes, you're getting away from the cruise line, only to put your trust in another middleman. What could possibly go wrong? Port pickup varies. Is it right at the gangway? Or a delightful scavenger hunt outside the port gates? Adds to the adventure, I suppose. Less familiarity. While they aim for punctuality, if there's an unforeseen delay, a rogue goat, an unexpected parade, you don't have the comforting embrace of the cruise ship guaranteeing they'll wait. What fun!
Let's go now with the generic tour operators, or a concentrator of tour operators. And these are generic. I'm going to start with Viator. The first thing we will notice it is you don't insert the cruise ship you're doing or the itinerary you're doing. Why? Because it's not dedicated for cruising. It is a more generic tours. So this is one of those sites that you will be using for both the tours during your cruise as well as before your cruise on the pre-cruise. And this is excellent to fill in. Let's start by checking the previous example that we've been doing on what to do in volos on the day. So as you can see here, we don't type the cruise ship. We have to try the place we're going to. And here it is. Notice though that it does have this option of shore excursions. It is quite interesting that we use this one, or I would say important to use this one. Why? Because the pickup will not be made at the hotel, but rather at the cruise terminal. So we are going to Volos, August 19th. That's the day that the cruise stops there. So let's see what we can do there. And then, sorry for that. And then we get the shore excursions that we have there. And this is much better because it allows us to understand what it is. Immediately, the first one is that example that we have of the full tour to Meteora. Check out that it says 7 to 9 hours. We have to account for the travel time that we go there. And yet it is 300 per person, Tuesday, 2 adults, check availability. And this is how you would do it. But as I mentioned, this is not the typical way. We would use it rather for the days that we are at port before. So let's go back. I will be in Athens on August 15 because the cruise starts on 16. So let's check what we have to do on the 15th. And it will give you an immense amount of things to be done. And really good. Now, if you want to go to the Acropolis, personally, I love food tours. So you could check those over here. But as you can see, here we have one, Athens evening food tour. This would be probably what I will be doing in Aphids the day before. So what are the pros associated with Viator? Well, it's got a massive selection, seriously. They have tours for everything. Helicopter rides, dine at the house of locals, go to food tours, visit the local market, museums, monuments, the works. You got it all. It's got a competitive pricing and it's good because it like everything is in there. It's got extensive reviews. Everybody uses them or quite a ton of people use them. So you can find easily a review of whatever tour unless it's a tour they just started. And you got the reliable customer support because they are so big, they use so many places that you can count on their customer support. And that's particularly important if you are on the day that you are trying to find your tour, where you find your guide or whatever. Just call them and they will help you get in touch with the operator.
The cons of this vast ocean of choices. Quality varies. Oh, the thrilling roulette of quality. Will your tour be amazing? Or will it be an experience you'll never forget? For all the wrong reasons. Ugh. It's a surprise every time. Less niche, less unique. While they have a huge selection, sometimes finding that truly authentic, obscure, off the beaten path gem among the millions of standard tours can be a real chore. How utterly disappointing.
Get Your Guide is basically the same type of site as Viator. Maybe you have some tours that exist in one or not the other. When I'm looking for tours, I use both and check, even if it's just to compare the prices. So let's get here, and just like the other one, we don't see the cruise ship, but I typed here Volos. It just says the city, and then we go for the date. We know it's on the 19th. We should know this by now. And what happens on 19th? So I've got here Meteora trip from Volos. Let's check it. Although it says 800, the other one said per person. This one says per group. There we have it. And this is how we get to do it. Let's just check. Pickup included, centrally located Volos Hotel or Volos Port. So this would be a good option for the tour to go to Meteora from Volos on the cruise ship. Once again, remember the time you have. I think this one would be a bit too tight, so probably with the cruise ship is better, but it is an option. I would use definitely if the ship would be at longer and I would have just an half day, like just go to see a vineyard and then back to the ship, and you have all the afternoon in the ship to do something else. Now, just like the previous example, we can also say that we want to go to Athens, and we'll do that on August 15th. Just the same, we do the search and we get more or less, as you can see, exactly the same type of excursions. The Parthenon, Acropolis, it even have an option to go to the Meteora. It looked by 64, so probably I'll go to Meteora from Athens as opposed to go with from Volos. I'll have to check the map to see the distance. But you see, you get all these things going here, and you also find the typical food tours that we want. It's even got here an option that we get here for the food tours or street food. Let's get this one. Look, authentic Greek food walking tour. Perfect. This is exactly the type of thing I want to do when embarking. So just like Viator, Get Your Guide is good for some short excursions if you are able to find. It's not specialized in that area, but to be in the city and get your tour, it is perfect. What are the pros associated with the Get Your Guide? Well, they've got some curated and unique experiences. They focus a little bit more on unique experiences, for example, compared to the previous one. They offer VIP tours and private tours as well. The app is quite user-friendly, really, with the vouchers and everything. It makes life so easy. They have flexible cancellation policies, which is quite neat. Quite a lot of them, just up to 24 hours before, and they focus quite on quality.
And the cons of such curated perfection? Potentially higher prices. Yes, for all that lovely quality and curation, you might just pay a little extra. Because excellence should cost more, shouldn't it? Your wallet will thank you eventually. Slightly smaller selection. So they have slightly fewer options than Viator? How utterly limiting. What if your obscure desire isn't precisely catered to? The horror.
And basically, what you want to do is, after the cruise, is go from ship to some kind of shore excursion that then drops you at the airport or go straight to the airport. If you want to go straight to the airport, the options you have usually would be And this is if the condition is you have an early flight. You try to get a cruise line transfer, a taxi, or a shared ride pre-booked. Now, post cruise excursion ending at the airport are convenient, especially if you have a later flight. And then you try to do some cruise line excursions. And usually these would be better than if you do independent tour operators, because they will know exactly when to pick you up. You will be among the first to get out of the cruise, get your baggage, put it into the bus, and go. But there are some tour operators that will do this as well. And the tour operators, like Shore Excursion and Ventura Shore that we saw, they will have also straight to the airport as well as doing some shore excursion before dropping you there. Now, not all cruise terminals, not all cities have this type of capability. Ports like Miami, they have the visit to the Everglades before dropping you off at the airport, which is quite a convenient. But let's be honest, after you do 2, 3, 4 cruises that end up in Miami, you're not going to use this all the time. You just want to go straight to the airport, maybe to a shopping mall. Another option you have is use the site WhatsInPort, find luggage storage, and do the do-it-yourself exploration. Drop the luggage somewhere and go find something to do, and those are offering usually the biggest flexibility that you can have. And there you have it. All these options. And I really hope that this helps you how to plan your next cruise, particularly the shore excursions, which is such a great moment or a great part of our cruise experience. If you enjoyed, do give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and wait for more stuff. In the meantime, you can check this other one on how to book your next cruise. Thank you.